Okay, Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera and good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining our training for environmental social governance in urban planning. This is actually the effort to promote ESG in more wider participants and especially for the companies also, and to also open up the opportunities for many infrastructure developer and also developer for any infrastructure and development that relate to urban area to apply and that to helps the country to achieve net zero carbon. So my name Irina Safitri. I'm the lecturer from the Urban and Regional Planning Department, Kuliah of Architecture and Environmental Design, International Islamic University, Malaysia. So a little bit about myself. The I I'm gonna share different slides. Sorry, this should be the slide. Sorry. Which slide? Yeah, the first. I'm sorry about the first. Is this is actually for the introduction of ESG in urban planning. So my profile, a little bit about my profile as a lecturer and the HRDF TTT certification. My specialization is on sustainability and climate change specialist. That's your screen. Okay, a little bit about the speakers, my profiles as a part of the lecture on the specialized in the sustainability and climate change. This is also another social responsibility to promote sustainability into wider audience. And then as part of my HRDF TTT certification number 173450, it's also another my initiative to apply for this accreditation. And then my previous experience as a trainer and module developer, I involved in the UNESCO Masterclass on Sustainable Development and Sustainability Science. And also I developing the 3 modules of sustainability leadership for higher education and institutional leader in Cambodia, Bali, and Johor. And I also, for the past 5 years, I'm involved in the in-house training for developing the capacity building for sustainable development for IUM staff. And for this training overview, as you aware about this whole session of the 4 hours is an interactive sessions. For the first 2 hours session, 3 minutes is about introductions and the course overview. And then for the next 1 hour, I have 1 hour lecture input on what is the basic theory of ESG, and then its relation with urban planning, and with the next 2 case study, which involves 30 minutes, will cover on how is the implementation of ESG in specific urban development project. That will guide you also on how is identifying the 3 pillars of ESG in these specific case studies. Yeah. So for the last remaining 2 hours, it will cover module 3 and 4. So this training will give you also the handout to help you to better understand about the overall of the trainings. Yeah. Okay, first of all, I would like to share with you the background of the three pillar of sustainability, which has become a basis for the three pillar of ESG. ESG is normally applied for the company, and how is the company responsibility is not only within their company activity and operation, but also covers the wider aspect of social, such as the diversity and inclusion, the consumer protections, and the community. And the governance, how is the company also ethically performs their organizations. This is also, of course, to avoid, to reduce the environmental impact of the company, such as the SG emission, biodiversity, waste and water management, and the use of natural resources. So these of three pillars actually relate to the three pillars of sustainability. If you look at here, there is also similarity in terms of the spirit of the ESG with the three pillars of sustainability. But the overall module of ESG in urban planning, where I mentioned about the module 1, 2, 3, 4, the overall module is trying to highlight in more specific what are the detail of the ESG and then how it's related with urban planning, the overall global trends and framework that relates with the ESG that becomes a push, the external push for the company to make a commitment for this environmental, social, and governance. In the module 2, where is covered the environmental dimension, we will discuss specifically on the key environmental issues, sustainable resource and management, and the climate change and resilience strategies, where in the social dimension, it will cover the social equity and inclusion of how is the company also can help in solving the problem related with the social equity, inclusion, and urban development, and how to create the community engagement strategies that where the urban planning process itself is also more um, inclusive, in terms of the urban planning. And the module 4 about the governance of the frameworks is how is governance structure in urban planning need also the ethical decision making and transparency for the government, the company, that also the company need to comply the specific regulation and standards that are require them to comply with this certain regulation. For example, for the environmental impact assessment, the company need to follow the several regulations that related to environment. So for this training, what we want to introduce to you is about the ESG, where you can articulate at the end the component of the ESG and how it's related with the urban planning. And the second learning outcome is how to analyze the key environmental challenge in urban area and identify the strategy for promoting the sustainability. And then the third learning outcome is actually to assess the real-world example of successful ESG implementation in urban settings. So although in our country, ESG looks like it's the new term, where the company previously also known as a corporate social responsibility, but the ESG application in developed country are already established, and then that is becomes more responsible and avoid the risk for the company in their day-to-day operations. So just for a bit, maybe I can ask you to introduce yourself first so that we can make this training more interactive, by getting to know you more. Okay, we can start with Eliza.
Ida, just
Yeah.
let me. Hi everyone, my name is Eliza Sophia, and I'm a consultant at my own business consultancy called Allianz Consultancy. And I'm also a trainer for soft skills. And one of the green practices that I perform in my life is I carry my own bags around with me. So instead of using plastic bags, I reuse reusable bags, which can last for a few years. And I find it very helpful just to put it in my handbag. Thank
Very,
you.
very. Okay, great. Thank you, Eliza. So it's just trying to warm up, yeah, and then because the spirit of this, of course, is the environment. So I try to link with your daily practice, yeah. So maybe Ruby can, yeah, can start.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name Rubiatul Zulkifli. I am a student from IIUM from Bachelor Degree Urban and Regional Planning currently.
Okay,
And that's
maybe
all.
you can identify what is your green practice performs in your life. Yeah.
During practice, maybe I love to plant trees.
Okay,
That's
okay, thank you. Tantri?
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Rahmat Dasari Tantri. You can call me Tantri. I am a researcher and postgraduate student in urban and regional planning. About my green practice perform in life, in this previous years, I already use the reusable bag and also I bring my own tumbler to everywhere when I go to the market or go to the restaurant. And also I prefer using public transportation rather than my private car. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. So maybe it's easy if we are living in the urban area, yeah? So, well, the transportation has a better connectivity. I'm trying to connect with the urban setting of our life. So where the existence of the MRT and good connectivity of rail network is help us also to perform the low carbon transport. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah. How about Aina? Yeah. Can you
Hello,
introduce yourself? Yeah.
my name is Aina Fatia binti Abdul Rahim. I'm a lecturer at Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies, UITM Pahang, Raut Branch. One of my green practice is that I use eco-friendly products, organic products, and somehow I plant my own organics, urban farmings like chilies, tomatoes,
Oh,
and then
good.
for transportation, somehow I applied carpooling to reduce carbon footprints.
Hmm.
Because somehow when we commute to one place or have a certain event, I mostly
Hmm.
carpooling with my colleague. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
All right. Yeah. For your information, yeah, if you are using your eco-friendly product, for example, yeah, the company itself is actually already concerned about the environment. Yeah, where you are also a consumer can consider as a green consumer. But for the companies, since we are talking about the ESG, is it actually related to the company itself. So by producing the green product, this is actually one of the commitment for the ESG practice by the company. Yeah. So and then of course, by having you as one of the consumer, green consumer, it helps also to reduce the carbon emissions. Yeah. Yeah. Each of us, I appreciate. Thank you so much for the green effort that we make that is contribute to at least lowering the carbon emission in our life. Yeah. And we back to these trainings. Yeah. If I can say also that this is one of the example for our three pillars of ESG as an introduction. we will have this kind of activity later on. But for your information, if I can share with you about the ESG, I can say it's trying to not only commit to the environment by lowering the carbon emission, GHG emission. There are also commitment to improve the biodiversities while also reduce the waste and water by having more efficient in terms of the management and how is the consume of the natural resource. So I will give you also the example from the company they don't want also to avoid trying to avoid the deforestation by having more replant trees, yeah, actually coming for the smart trees planting, such as the sustainable oil palm. They have this kind of uh, regularly tree planting to avoid this unplant of the tree because of the issue of deforestation will destroy our affect our market of the oil palm in the EU market. Yeah, that is why we have the sustainable oil palm practice. Yeah, and on the social aspect also, some of the company, as I mentioned before, that our the company that promotes development in the poverty areas, yeah, and also promotes the inclusivity in terms of providing the housing for the B40 or yeah, this is also another aspect of how is the ESG company can help. Yeah. And on the governance part, despite of the business and ethics, there is also clearly stated about how is the transparency of the company need to be present. Yeah. In order to do this, ESG also require the company to provide the reports. So this report is actually very important for them to disclosure what are their practice that relates with the company practice, the business ethics, and also the management structure. So this will be introduced later on in detail on our trainings. Yeah? And furthermore, why we need to have this essential of the ESG, importance of ESG in urban planning. Yeah? As I mentioned from the beginning, because the ESG is essential in urban planning to promote sustainable development. Yeah? We know that company itself, various company is not only the company that are involved in the development, they can be practice the promoting the green infrastructure, for example, like solar panel, their green technology. This is one of the example on how its company can involve in promote the ESG for urban planning. Besides this, of course, the social impact is to enhance the community well-being and address the climate change. As we know that our country is also promotes the net zero carbon, we have the statement that by 2050, Malaysia will achieve to the net zero carbon, where currently we are commit for 45% of carbon emission reduction. But during the COP26 on the climate change of parties, we are by UNFCCC, United Nations for Climate Change, we are commit for 50% of, net zero emission for carbon by 2050. Yeah? So I think this is aligned with the UNFCCC COP15 also countries are working towards that. As I mentioned, for example, like country like the Bhutan, yeah, they are benefiting by having the more green area, yeah, forests, for example, yeah, so that they can enjoy the zero emission actually because the trees is function like the lung. Yeah? They absorb the carbon emission from the various activity in urban area, like the transportation, even the energy also emits the carbon emissions. Yeah? The waste in landfill also emits the carbon emission. So that is why maybe because of the number of population also very minimal, but the green area in Bhutan is more than 50% of the area developed. So they can enjoy the net zero carbon at this stage. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether we can have it in 2050, but currently Malaysia carbon emission is achieved already like 10% of the current the overall country emissions. Yeah. So this is that is why the various efforts also in intro promoting, yeah, by the government. For example, we have the climate change policies 2.0, where we include this net zero carbon emission by 2050 as our target emissions. Yeah. The previous climate change policy did not include this. Yeah. So the promotion of the ESG is actually to include the corporate sector, yeah, the small medium industry to get involved in the various uh, in their company's activities to lower their carbon emission, and also for those who are involved in the infrastructure development, they can create more resilient infrastructure and green infrastructure, and also to reach out to more social equity in their developments. Yeah? And then also by integrating ESG, we hope that the transparent decision making been made, where, for example, in urban planning, we have the fourth level of urban planning, fourth level of community involvement in development plan. Yeah, as we know that we have three tier of development plan: the structure plan at the state level, the local plan, sorry, the national physical plan at the federal level, the state structure plan for each state. We have the Johor state structure plan, Malacca state structure plan, and etc. And we have also at the third level is local development plan, which is belongs to the local authority. So we have like Iskandar Putri or Petaling Jaya local plans. Yeah? But then at the fourth level now, we are promoting the involvement of the community, where we want to get the input from the community. What it should be the infrastructure that suit to the area that, for example, in the flood area. Yeah. And ultimately, we want also to provide more healthier urban environment and inclusive. Yeah? Healthier, for example, during post-COVID-19, we realized that we need more pocket green area in urban area, for example. Yeah? Yeah, this is the elaboration of how is ESG is important in urban planning. Yeah? So this is one of the case study about the ESG that I will introduce in our for the next 1 hour. This is to the example of the tideway, yeah, the tunnel in the London of to overcome the sewerage problems. Yeah? And then at the end, I will introduce you for the 1 hour of the training on ESG in urban planning. Yeah? Yeah, any question for so far from the floor?
So far, so good, Dr. Rina.
Okay, thank you. So I will give you the next 1 hour for the slides. Okay, can you see my slide? Yeah.
Yes, dokter.
I will make it in the slideshow. Yeah, is it okay? All right. Okay, so this is for the module 1 on the introduction to ESG principles and its relation to urban planning. We will have the more or less 1 hour for this section for this module. And then the module for this section will cover on the understanding about the ESG, the definition, the importance and overview of the global trend and frameworks. On the submodule 2, we will cover on the definition of urban planning, key issues in urban planning, and how is connection between ESG and urban planning. Yeah? At the end, I will try to relate with the environmental dimension, the social, and also the governance. Yeah? So as I mentioned at the beginning for the brief overview on the ESG, this is the three pillar of ESG where the environmental impact of the organization that need to be reduced or eliminated by the company is also part of it's not only for the big company that are listed under the Bursa KL, but also now they also come into the small medium enterprise. Yeah? If you look at on the environmental dimension where GHG emission, meaning that from the company GHG emission that need to be reduced, meaning that the company needs also consider on how is the carbon emission from their day-to-day practice. Yeah? For example, from the energy emission, maybe they can start to install the solar panel so that it reduces the GHG emission from the energy, or they can start to promote this electrical vehicle so that it will also reduce the GHG emissions. And the company who are also involved in the biodiversity try to avoid the environmental effect from the practice. Yeah? For example, like palm oil plantation, they can reduce the oil palm effluent from the factories, yeah, by compliance with the EIA regulatory standards. Yeah. So remember that ESG itself is not all the aspect of the ESG that need to be complied, but ESG itself is a process for the company to disclosure. Yeah. So at the end, they will come up with the metrics, the report of the ESG reports that based on the metrics for these 3 dimensions. Yeah. So on the social aspect, the company also need to consider on how is the organization has an impact to the people, including the staff, the customers, and the community. I still remember that Aina, when you are buying the organic products, yeah, that is where the social aspect of the company also consider the environment, but also the customers' options right now. Yeah? And by having, for example, uh, by having the social aspect in terms of the inclusion and diversity, so the company, for example, developer who has developed the housing, yeah, so they need to consider the B40 or affordable housing so that it will reach out to the lower income groups. Yeah, that is also another uh, consideration for company who has focus on this housing. Yeah, and the governance, this has to do with how an organization is governed, but how also the government should be transparent by having the business ethics and also reports their ESG activities, yeah, by follow the report format, yeah. And as I mentioned previously, that the pillar of sustainability is a basis for the ESG. So this is also another push factor for the company to commit more on the sustainability actually, yeah. Uh, do you know what the sustainability three pillar? Have you heard about the sustainability three pillar before, Tantri?
Yeah, doctor, I already heard about three pillars about environmental, social, and economic.
Have you somehow adopted on how is the three pillar in any of your works or?
Actually, previously my research is about how adapt the SDGs in SME, small and medium enterprises in my back hometown in Indonesia. So there are how the SME there are the issue about the SDGs, about the impact to the environment. So how we can enhance the community, not only care with the environment, but how to make their economic and the social life also adapt with the sustainability development principle.
Okay. All right. Yeah. How about Aina? How you are somehow adopted the three pillar of sustainability, some section.
In my part, I think in social parts, as well as environmental, for the governance, perhaps in my workplace where they have these green practice as well as the ESG where we should reduce the electricity, then a paperless policy, that means for the assignments, that means
in campus,
in campus.
Oh, good.
So the policy in the university itself encourage for the ESG practices.
Right. Yeah, because the higher education institution, organization, also like UIA, we are also part of the institution that need to voluntarily comply with the ESGs, yeah? And then we are in UIA also has the solar panel installations and also green technology adoptions, like also using the cycling, yeah, Ruby? Maybe you can share how is the cycling practice in UIA?
Cycling.
Yeah, cycling. We have
That we
specific
practice,
dedicated lane, yeah?
we has dedicated lane for bicycling and for like scooter like that.
Yeah. But yeah, this is also another commitment for reducing the carbon emission from the other transports, yeah? Okay. Yeah, for the submodule of the ESG, maybe I can share with you also. This is the aspect of ESG that are aligning produced by the Bursa Saham Malaysia. This is basically the key themes on what are need to be reports by the company here. And at the end, they will come up with this ESG ratings. How is your performance? But in each of the environmental, for example, if I mention to you about the three pillar, in environmental, they have this biodiversity, climate change, pollution, resource, and water security. This is also related with the supply chains environments aspect. And for the labor standards, human rights, community, health and safety, and customer responsibility, this is part of the supply chain on the social aspect. But this one, the governance is related with the company's governance structures. Yeah? And the ESG is a set of aspects that where the investment of the company also need to reduce their risk that arising from the environmental issue and ethical and social issue. That is why among the social issue that they need also to consider is how is the human rights being promoted, avoid this child labor, and also avoid the corruption. And the ESG criteria also assess how business manage risks and opportunities relate to environmental stewardships and related with this social responsibility and governance practice. So this is where the influence of the investment decision and corporate strategies at the end. So I hope by having this rating actually where each of the company that need to disclose their ESG practice, it will submit the reports to Bursa Saham Malaysia, especially for the first main board. Yeah? And this is also the detail about the ESG for corporate sector. I give you the link for the detail of this ESG, where until up to the energy usage and efficiency also need to be reported, yeah, in the company, for example. So if you can has the installation of the renewable energy, solar panels, yeah, and etc. So it will reduce the energy usage in the company itself. And then this is how to disclose the company effort in support the ESG. Yeah, this is one example in the environmental pillars. Yeah, on the GST emission, carbon footprint reduction, and they have also social and governance sector. If you look at here, the social aspect also cover on how is the company has a fair pay and living wages, and how is the company promotes the equal employment opportunity, employee benefits, and how is the workplace healthy and safety also being promoted. Like currently we are in at our kuliah also having the fire drills safety, yeah, in terms of to promote the safety workplace and health and safety. And then we have also the responsible supply chain partnership, where only selected the company, for example, register under the green procurement that are promoted by the Ministry of Finance. The higher education institution also encouraged to get in touch with the green supply chain, where company who are promotes like the laptop, yeah, using the low emission low emissions carbon footprints also is encouraged to link with the green procurements. Yeah? And the governance also require the company to comply with the various environmental regulatory standard and ethical business practice. And this is one of the environmental dimension of ESG. If you look at here, the various in urban settings, there are various sources of the GHG emissions that contribute to carbon footprint. If you look at here, from the electricity, the grids, yeah, from the fossil fuel combustion from the car, that also directly contribute to these greenhouse gas emissions. And if you look at also the processed products, which also contribute to the indirect emission, that is why the company like in German they have the green pang, yeah, green dot, where the product that has a green dot the consumer need to refer back or give back the product to specific recycle point. Like for example, we are in Malaysia also have drop off points, right? For recycle, for example. This is actually already being adopted or being practiced in many years in Western countries. Yeah. But because the company also need to be responsible for the product that they produce, and also for the consumer also to perform this green practice. Yeah? And not only that, there is also consideration on the waste management, renting for leasing vehicles, and also the business trips. Yeah? Maybe you don't realize, but if you know that the AirAsia also now has options, yeah? Or if you want to book the flight, yeah? You can choose for lower carbon emission, right? Have you realized when you book the ticket, Eliza?
Sorry, Dr. Irina, can you repeat that?
Hmm. When you book a ticket for
Oh,
flight ticket,
I don't travel, so I wouldn't know.
oh, okay. Tantri, maybe when you go back to Jakarta, there is option for lower carbon
Oh,
emissions. Yeah.
no, I never know about that. I
Oh,
already
yeah.
knew by today.
Okay. Yeah, there is another option actually now being promoted in the any website or online bookings. Yeah. So you can choose for lower carbon emissions. Yeah. And even if you are if you realize also in, for example, in TNG wallet or Zeus Coffee, you can donate your point to plant the trees. Yeah. So this is another commitment from the Zeus company also to commit with ESG. Yeah. Okay, so this is the activity that relate what are the principle of carbon footprints. And then, for example, like the how to achieve this energy conservation. For example, you can choose the products that you buy from 5-star ratings products that produced by the Malaysia energy rating system. Maybe you realize when you buy the fridge atau the light lamp, so you can choose for those who are 5-star rating or 4-star rating. The highest, of course, has the service rating, yeah, for the highest saving consumption, energy consumptions. Yeah. Energy efficiency, you have also, you can use the lights minimally. This is one of the energy conservation practice. You can run full load in your dishwasher. This is part of our daily practice, yeah, on how we can lower our greenhouse gas emissions. We can also set thermostat hotter in the summer and cooler in the winter. For the energy efficiency, you can upgrade to LED light, install a high efficiency fridge, install an energy efficient dishwasher and upgrade to energy efficiency, use proper insulation and upgrade windows. So this is a part of the effort to lower our greenhouse gas emission. Of course, the company that produced this is already showing their commitment on the ESG. Yeah? And this is somehow to show how is the principal carbon footprint calculation based on the data, emission factor, and this is the carbon footprint that is reported in UNFCCC. Yeah? And from the environmental dimension, I would like to go to the social dimension of ESG, where the social dimension is actually has to do with how is the impact of the organization has on people, but not only the staff, also the customers and the community. So it's not only within the company, but the community and also the customers and also the community. So it shows that the social responsibility of the community is beyond the company and also the customers. So the social dimension is also a set of aspects that consider when investing in company to reduce a risk arising from environmental issues. For example, if there is an ethical and social issues that human rights, child labor or corruptions, and corporate governance issues. So the social dimension need to avoid these kind of social issues from their activities and practice. Yeah? So in this part, ESG criteria need to evaluate how business manage their risks and the opportunities that relate to environmental stewardship, the social responsibility, and the governance practice. So all of this need to be reported in the ESG rating that I mentioned before this. Yeah? And this is, but how is the ESG pillar of ESG, social pillar of ESG related to the urban planning? That is what we need to wait until our next slide. Yeah? But this is the emphasis on how is the ESG can relate with urban planning from the social dimensions. Yeah? Okay, and for the governance, as I mentioned, if before this the focus more on the environmental and the ethical social issues, but the company, the corporate governance also need to be manage their risks, yeah? And they have also very transparent in terms of their tax, and then they need to avoid this. They need to have the anti-corruption initiatives, yeah, and the practice. So the ESG rating tools will come up with this tax transparency, risk management, corporate governance, and anti-corruption. So this is part of the governance aspect of ESG that relates. And later on, this is the detail of the ESG that need to be reported in the ESG rating tools. Yeah? I would not go into the details, yeah, but then this is just for examples and for further reference, yeah. But this is actually the importance why ESG frameworks is important for the company because of the three central focus that may actually comes into the sustainability of the business actually in the future. Yeah? So the company also actually the ESG trying to measure the intangible aspect of the environmental, social, and governance. Yeah. So seems like very, I can say, it's difficult to measure because it's intangible. Yeah. But then at the end is how we can articulate it into the ESG reporting standards and disclosure by having the reports. Yeah. And in this case, the small medium industry, SME, and also the company under the Bursa Saham Malaysia, the first tier need to have this ESG reports, yeah, to disclose. So after several slides on the company theory of the ESG and the concepts, yeah, so I try to relate with the how is actually the real practice of ESGs. Yeah? So maybe the success story of the Unilever maybe can help you to grasp what is actually the ESG practice in the company that works not only to the customer but also beyond the communities. Yeah? This is the example of the Unilever. Unilever products. Yeah, of course. Yeah? We are using what kind of the Unilever products? Maybe Eliza, you can share. Aina?
I attended the event, but I don't buy their products. But they have a lot on healthcare products. So they have on collagen and all that. So
Collagen.
my mom's friend has used the products before.
Unilever.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually the company that also produce like the Sunsilk products, yeah, the shampoo, yeah, the soap, yeah, and etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the company itself, for example, here, the CEO of the Unilever itself that is mentioned that if we keep going with deforestation, with the accounts for 50% of global warming, our business model and our whole society are at risk. So this is actually the commitment of the company that shows their governance to avoid the risk from the company. Yeah? The Unilever is also very famous with um, the product of the food and beverage. Yeah? So they will, of course, they use the packaging, yeah, by using the plastic, yeah. So that is why they promote the refillable of the detergent, yeah, soap, yeah. So this is in order to reduce the plastic consumptions, yeah. So if you can, the real practice for us, yeah, as a consumer, we can like only use the bottle, but the next we use the refillable detergent or soap, yeah, untuk sabun mandi, yeah. That is why the Unilever also promote the refillable products, yeah. And the other example of the their statement is during the consumer goods forums, yeah. By 2020, we are not going to sell any more products from illegal deforestation, whether soy, beef, pulp, pepper, or palm oil, yeah, that send an anonymous signal across the total value chain and generated action on supply side. And so this is to show that deforestation is really illegal deforestation is really prohibited in their supply chain. Yeah, this statement will affect their the company practice and the total value chain. So the urban planning implication for this statement, for example, for the company, where the urban planning implication to strengthen the deforestation effort via the strong regulatory gazettement and etc. We have the strong forest regulatory in Malaysia also and other in many countries. It will help by having the companies registration for the ESG's practice. Yeah? So, this is one of the ESG dimension that helps to solve the urban issue that I would like you to maybe somehow can relate. Yeah. What are the ESG dimension that helps to solve the urban issues? Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can have the interactive session. Yeah. For example, like for the environment, maybe Tantri would like to try. How is the ESG dimension either social or environment or governance that can solve the urban issues? Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can go first because I already
Okay.
started my training on remote training. So I
Okay.
focus more on environmental, social, and governance.
Mm,
Just give me one moment. Just let me look at my file. So
mm,
I just tell, wait, let me find my file.
Maybe any of you can also start to identify what are the ESG dimension that somehow can help to solve the urban issues. Yeah. Maybe the transportation or
Okay, so for me, next year my business model is I want to have ESG got 18 dimensions, correct?
mm,
Okay, so the first one will be environmental. So number 12 and 13, responsible consumption and production and climate action. So
mm,
for that is to reduce carbon footprint, paperless learning, no commuting,
yeah.
eco-friendly, zero paper waste. So for the social aspects is for training. So training for
Mm,
employees. So I'm looking into quality education for.
mm,
5 is gender equality. 8 is decent work and economic growth. And 10 is reduce inequalities. So
mm-hmm,
over here, you can fall under for comfortable learning. Learn from your house, learn from
mm,
your office,
mm,
flexible environments, better outcomes. Because when you learn online, you can refer back to recordings compared to
mm,
normal class. And then coming to governance, number
mm,
9 is
mm,
industry, innovation, and infrastructure.
mm,
16, peace, justice, and strong institution. 17, partnership for the goals. So let's say, for example, governance is sustainable policies,
mm,
support digital and eco-friendly practices. Number 2 is resources efficiency, responsible for resources use. So when we go for training, normal trainings, we always end up having so many papers,
mm,
pens. And if you do remote training, you're actually using your own journal, you're using your own pen. So
yeah.
it's normally it's quite much more sustainable and it's quite transparent impact because you get to keep track and report to environment beneficial to
Mm,
external parties.
right. But how about the urban issues? ESG dimension specifically on the urban issues. Maybe
Okay,
from
for
mm,
like I mentioned earlier, like based on the urban issues, like social is diversity and inclusion,
okay.
governance is business ethics, and then environmental is use of natural resources, so it's reduced.
Right. Thank you, thank you, Eliza. How about Tantri? It's very. I know that there are various wide scope of the ESG that we can consider, but we can focus on the urban related urban issues, maybe. Yes.
Maybe yeah, what is facing in Indonesia since I'm come from Indonesia, so the urban issue mostly about about traffic jam lah or how
Mm,
why people doesn't want to use public transportation or else. So
mm,
the maybe the ESG can be the framework that every government or every urban planner should adapt uh the environmental aspect, I think, to like Sister Aina say that to reduce the carbon footprint or
yeah.
yeah, and also not only reduce the carbon footprint, but in urban issue, if we use public transportation or the urban planner can make the integrated public transport. So people will move to use public transportation rather than their own private transportation. So yeah, maybe it can be reduce the traffic jam in most larger city in Indonesia, I
Yeah.
think, or
Yeah, we have what we call it as a transit-oriented development,
yeah,
TOD, yeah,
the
Ruby.
ODS.
So this is also one of the example on how the ESG dimension can help to solve urban issues. Can you help to elaborate, Ruby?
In terms of traffic congestion, right?
Yeah, or TOD, yeah.
Yes, I think because maybe the dimension is like in social, we can give the community like affordable housing for near to their working place, so that
Mm.
they can reduce carbon emissions from their private transportations, and we focus more on the public transportation like KOD, and we provide the infrastructure for them to reduce the carbon emission.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Thank you. How about Aina? Maybe on the green part or green area that can help to improve the well-being of the
Um, uh,
people during the
one of
COVID. We need, yeah.
One of the urban issues that I found is that the congested area, especially in the PPR, housing for the low income residents,
Mm.
where it's important for the ESG, the environmental in terms of urban space. That means in terms of
Mm.
uh, a green space, the areas of recreationals, biophilic designs, ventilations, uh, and then in terms of social, is that when it comes to the community, it
Mm.
needs uh, I mean the support should be not only from bottom but also top down. That means a proper mechanism or campaigns to educate awareness for the community, especially for the waste management in the areas of the low income residents.
Mm.
Uh, Instead of promote the green space and so forth, the public health in that area as well. That means their public compliance towards diseases. That means the SOPs and how is that they said 20 minutes in reach. That means in that cities areas, how the ministries of housing and local government can provide the community to commute in that 20 minutes areas to reach. So
Mm.
in terms of governance, I think it needs multi-stakeholders partnership. That means
Mm.
the community itself cannot works individually. Of course,
Mm.
it needs in the governance supports as well as
Mm.
the private sectors, the NGOs, and of course the government. That means in terms of enforcement and translating policy to the practice itself. So,
Mm.
I expect that these three dimensions it needs to work simultaneously. I mean,
Yeah.
it's no one's dimensions. It's important. It's actually the three dimensions needs to work simultaneously.
Mm. Yeah, correct. Thank you. Yeah, this
Dr.
is
Irina, can
just,
I add something?
yes, yes, sure.
Okay, so just now you're talking about urban issues. So the urban issues that I'm trying to solve is more towards social, but it's linked to
Yes, sir.
environment and governance. Because
Mm.
I think majority of we can see that majority of Malaysians are stressed, and then one of the
Mm.
problems is transportation can cause stress,
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
we need more equality training, education that
Mm.
it helps employees to improve their lifestyle.
Yeah. I think by post-COVID era is actually also a wake up for us that walking is not only can perform at desktop in the office, right, working. But we can also work remotely. That is another the benefit of the COVID also is a wake-up call for us. Yeah, so we have more tolerance in terms of the working flexibility, in terms of the working space. Yeah. Okay, thank you for your comments. And then I would like to this question is actually trying to ensure that my point about the ESG is delivers. Yeah. So why is ESG? Why suddenly this term are become a hot topic? Yeah, recently. Yeah. Maybe this is not actually coincidentally, but there is, of course, the global pressure on why we need to have the ESG. Yeah? If you look at here, the first frameworks, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as Eliza mentioned about the specific goals. Yeah, the urban area is specific on the SDG 11 about sustainable cities and community. But of course, it's related with the other 17, 16 goals of SDG 2. Yeah? And then this also, the net zero carbon emission is, of course, although it's only for mentioned focused by the climate action 13, SDG 13. Yeah? But this SDG goals also related with the other, for example, the practice of sustainable consumption and production, and the infrastructure and etc. So this is how is the SDG itself is interrelated. Yeah? And then despite of the SDG goals that give the push also to the company on performing ESG, there are also global report initiative GRI. I think this is quite legend. Yeah, I can say it's still published previously in 1999. The GRI is also a framework for sustainability reporting for the companies, yeah, which now is wrapped up into the ESG. And the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, this is also an industry-specific standard for disclosing financially material sustainability information, yeah, GRI, SASB, and also the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosure, especially this is on how is the company integrating the climate risk into their financial reporting. Yeah? And the Carbon Disclosure Project, this is where a platform for the company who disclose the environmental impact of the company, especially for regarding carbon emission. For example, like the company who are install the carbon solar panels, yeah, in their factory, for example, yeah, so they will enjoy the reduction in terms of carbon emission, so they can disclose their carbon disclosure projects. Yeah, this is one of the examples. Yeah. Any questions so far? We can continue. Okay. Besides the global frameworks, I would like to also to highlight this as Malaysia commitment for, as I mentioned, to achieve the carbon goals in 2050. Yeah? Supporting the Zero Climate Change Act by 2025, we are also now towards that. So that is why ESG also becomes voluntarily kind of mandatory. Yeah? Where, as I mentioned, the climate change policy 2.0 already mentioned about the reduction, about 45 reduction in economic-wide carbon intensity by 2030. But they have also the sets of clear roadmap towards achieving net zero GHG. As if you remember, the three pillars of ESG, the environmental aspect, dimension, as mentioned about GHG reduction. So that is why it's aligned with the country aspiration to achieve the net zero carbon by 2050. And they are also introduced the guideline for governance, low carbon development. Maybe those who are coming from urban planning, familiar with low carbon city, yeah, sustainable cities, yeah. There are also intention to have the climate adaptation plan and also the financing also. This is to help to achieve this net zero carbon. Yeah. Malaysia also highlight its climate initiative at UNFCCC, the COP29 recently in November. Yeah, this is one of the annual biannual programs. Yeah, And if I can share with you also on how is ESG simplified version, this disclosure guide. This is also to help SMEs in their supply chains, yeah, to reduce the carbon emission from their supply chains. Yeah. And if I can share with you how is the industrial under the Ministry of Industry, they are here is the framework on how is the ESG in Malaysia, specifically for the industrial sector. Yeah. This is the manufacturing sector's contribution, the GDP, employment, and the export. So that is why it is crucial for this industrial sector to adopt this ESG, where government also provides the facilitation on how is ESG being adopted by company, for example, by provide the SIRIM, ISO, yeah, and also the climate adaptation and also mitigation, and also by adopting the climate action plan, yeah, in the local authorities. Yeah. Okay, this is the example of ESG that is produced by the rating scores produced by the Bursa Malaysia. As I mentioned, we refer to the previous ESG rating score. Yeah, it's the same. This is just to show how is the process that are endorsed by the Bursa Malaysia. And now from the company ESG, I would like to emphasize on how does ESG work for urban planning. Yeah. So from the company section ESG, I would like to come into the urban planning part here. So for those who are coming from the urban planning, may be very familiar about the urban planning itself, the definition, where the urban planning is referred as a town planning or city planning, or other name is regional or rural planning, depend on the context. Yeah. But the urban planning itself is combined the technical and political, cross-sectoral, cross sector, and also focus on the development and design of land use. Yeah. The urban planning also include the built environment. That is why the air, water, and infrastructure also becomes part of the urban planning's concerns. Yeah? So the urban area, as you know, that there is transportation sectors involved, the communication, distribution networks, and also the accessibility. Though this is where the urban planning covers very complex in terms of the wide coverage of the definitions. Yeah? And why urban planning? Yeah? Because I can say that from the ESG company on how ESG can contribute to urban planning. Yeah? Because the urban planning is where the city is rely on urban planning to remain functional and to attract the business. Yeah? Because the urban planning need to have very dynamic and then continuously improve their performance, yeah, in terms of the functionality of the city to attract the business and also to function as a sustainable cities. So every crucial aspect of urban environment is under the effect of how its layout is planned, and this also include the key infrastructure, transportation, and the city area layout and density. So this is some of the um, descriptions, yeah, on how is the urban planning cover the transportation, the road network, yeah, the built environment. If you look at here, the picture, and then somehow it will relate with the ESG, three pillar of ESGs, yeah, from the built environment, the environmental aspect, and also the socials. So how is it? So if you look at here, the example of the sustainable cities that will consider the rooftop garden, for example, and also to reduce the carbon emission from the urban area. And by having this climate-friendly adaptations, yeah, this is where the parking area has adopted this climate resilience by combining the parking area with the biofuels. Yeah, this is the example in many areas also for urban areas such as in Elmina, they are also already practice this. And in several, of course, in KLCC area, yeah, this is to improve the absorption, air absorptions, and also to improve to reduce the urban heat island phenomena in urban area. Yeah. So maybe you can, I don't know whether if you visit the KLCC area, we are lucky that we still have the KLCC park, right? And this is also one of the effort to reduce the urban heat island in the city, KLCC area. Yeah? So we are lucky that we still have several green area in KL. For example, like Taman Botanical Garden, yeah, KL Perdana Lakeside, yeah, and also the various pocket park that can helps to reduce the temperature of the cities. Yeah? And how about the key issues in urban planning? Yeah? We are trying to relate now how is the several aspect of the several issue in urban planning that will and can solve by having the ESG interventions. Yeah? For example, like in sustainable development, in urban planning, in urban area, we want to balance the growth with urban environmental preservation by having also ensuring that urban expansion does not harm ecosystem or deplete resource. So this is where the issues that normally in urban area that can overcome by having this environmental dimension of ESGs. Yeah? And the transportation and mobility, this is also one of the key issues in urban planning. For example, country or city that has developing efficient public transport system, they will reduce the traffic congestion and they will promote the walkability and cycling to enhance accessibility. And how is related with the ESG? By promoting the low carbon transports, yeah, promoting walkability, and then the company who are having the infrastructure focus on this aspect will help in reducing the carbon emission from the area, the urban area. Yeah? And the other key issues in urban planning is also actually the affordable housing. Yeah? It can help to combat the homelessness and issues. Yeah? If you look at from this one of the company in the West, yeah, they are investing in affordable housing. Is also to align ESG goals in and addressing the social dimension of ESG. So this is also another aspect to promote the equity in order to in urban area. And another issue about the key issue in urban area is also about how to maintain and upgrade the infrastructure. We are aware that some of the area are having difficulties in improving the roads qualities and also maintain the water supply and sewage. So to support the growing population and also to ensure resilience against climate change. Yeah? So that is why the company also, the ESG company who are focused on the infrastructure will address these aspects. Yeah? And for the land use planning, we are also, the key issues in urban planning is how to have the effective management of the land use by balancing the residential, commercial, industrial, and recreational needs, yeah, while minimizing the conflict between different uses. So that is why we have this effort like healthier cities, where the cities itself is not only for development purpose, but of course for the peoples and to have a balance between the resident, commercial, industrial, and recreation needs. So these four aspects need to have in harmony. Yeah? So from the key, sorry, any questions so far? Maybe.
What happens? I have a question, Dr. Irina. What
Yeah.
happens when we overdevelop? Let's say, for example, Taman Desa. I've noticed there's too much traffic, and then it's
Mm,
becoming the houses just paint their house and become quite old. Like,
mm.
how to prevent all of this?
Yeah, we can in urban planning we call it as urban sprawling. Yeah. So normally there are in the area with the housing very packed. Yeah, and there is somehow we call it as revitalization or rejuvenation of the stagnant or old area. Yeah? This is also one of the effort, for example, in Ipoh, where the his heritage city that are also facing problems in terms how to maintain the heritage building itself. Yeah, so the public-private partnerships also can help in, let's say, in your area in the Taman Desa, it can help to promote the public-private partnership by improving the infrastructure, the green area in that area, and also I don't know where maybe there is effort for government also they have affordable housing projects, yeah, and also the package, yeah. So for those who wants to improve their well-being and the quality of life, despite of the effort for those who are very congested home area, they will asking for the local authority to improve the pocket area or green area surrounding by creating the recreational area also to improve the well-being of the people. So if you look at on the Housing Development Board in Singapore, although they are very compact and then they have multi-story of the residential area, but they have a dedicated place for the community recreation because they realize they need this kind of infrastructure and also facilities, yeah, to improve, to keep the community's quality of life. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Irina.
right. Thank you. Any other questions? Maybe I know the healthier cities may be close to Aina's project on the resilient cities. Yeah. Yeah, we are just realized that after COVID that the importance of having green area is getting crucial. Yeah? So if there is no question, I try to emphasize more on how is the ESG connect with urban planning. Yeah? We're also still wondering because the ESG seems the words closely related with the companies, yeah, but how is the company itself can help in terms to solve the issues in urban planning, yeah? As I mentioned first, the stewardship, environmental stewardship is also part of the ESG commitments, yeah? So by having the sustainable resource management, land use, green infrastructure, and conservation of natural resource, this is to help the mitigate environmental impact like pollution and habitat loss. Yeah? So if you look at here, although we are very fascinating with this building, right? All the building are greens. Yeah, it's not only the rooftop, maybe the vertical garden also is our dreams building maybe. But I noticed in Cyberjaya, and then we have also one demonstration of the building in KLCC, near the KLCC tower. Yeah. Have you seen about this building? Maybe you have experience. This is one of the example of the company that commitment with the MSG. Yeah. Ruby?
Mm, not not
Not yet.
really go
I
there.
seen one at GB and Co.
Oh,
Um,
Jibenko.
yeah, GB and Co. They have like greener greener outside the building.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a restaurant, GB and Co.
Oh, okay. Where is it in KL?
Yeah, near to Ampang there.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just
And
come back from, yeah, and then,
it's near to the Ampang Resorts city, like a lake something.
oh,
It's for
really?
hiking, for
Oh, okay. But
there. I seen one.
in
I seen one GB and Co. The building something like this.
Echo,
Yeah.
okay. But in Bukit Bintang, I realized maybe if you go to the green building, what is it?
Mm.
In Bukit Bintang? I forgot the name. But they have the green rooftop
Lala
garden of,
Muga,
huh?
Lala Poda.
No, no, no. Before Lalaport, the old building near the Bukit Bintang, in the junction,
Oh, I
what
haven't
they
been
call
there
the
yet.
green. I forgot the names. Yeah, this is the very, very old. I think the 20 years back, they already have this green rooftop. If you go there is a cafe also. It's very nice, and then it's free. You can just from the in the junction, yeah, opposite to McDonald in the Bukit Bintang. I forgot now the name of the building. Yeah, they can. That is one of the commitment from the to lowering the carbon emission from the buildings. Yeah. And for the climate resilience, planning for climate change involve integrating ESG also can shows in the flood events. Yeah, I can share with you. This is the flood gate in Singapore under the flood defense. They will close the gate during the high tide. During the sea level rise. Uh, Research of the Tantri. This is where the cities in the Singapore have this kind of when the sea level rise up to the alarming system, so they will give the signal and then they will automatically will close this gate to avoid the water in coming into the cities that cause the flood. This is how is the ESG can connect. And for the social aspect of the ESG also, where the emphasis on the stakeholder participation and decision making. So during, as I mentioned, during the urban planners are encouraged to involve diverse community voice, to address social equity. For example, in the affordable house, where affordable housing is required that no more than 30% of the income to live there. So by having the company who are focused on the developing the affordable housing, this is where the incorporation of the ESG principle leads to the policy that prioritize the affordable housing. So the company also can declare their activity that address this social aspect of the ESG. Yeah? And this is also one of the transparency based on our research previously on the Climate Malacca State Climate Action Plan, where we collect the data ESG emission from the various activities in Malacca, the transportation, the energy, and also the waste, water, and also the green area. So this is all report in the Malacca State Climate Action Plan, and not only at the state level, but also at the local authority level. They have specific climate action plan reports, where this climate action plan need to be read together with the local plans, in order to help them to give more specific description about what are the infrastructure that need to be highlighted, and then the climate action that need to be introduced in the Malacca, in these examples. So the urban planning, the sharing by having this climate action plan is also help to the ESG principle guide to ensure the compliance with environmental laws and social standards. So the ethical decision making is also encourage transparency and accountability in urban planning. That is why it's very clear that the governance transparency of the ESG also helps in terms of the urban planning, by having these two disclosure in terms of the climate action plans. And the company who are involved in this installation of the rooftop or solar panel or etc. in this area, they can also report their reduction in terms of that. And these are also another complexity of the wide coverage impact, from the installation of the smart street lighting by using the LED light. This LED light also connect with the dashboard that can report on how much is the reductions. And this is an example of the green network, pedestrian network that can helps also the the local authority to improve their performance on how is to monitor the function of the performance of the green network and bicycle network. And the green area here is also one of the example on how is the company also can help to promote this green infrastructure and a grid smart infrastructure. So this is where the area that company can help in ESG, promoting the ESGs. Yeah? So this is, I think we have already the, how is the activity to, how does company with ESG helps to solve urban issues? And then this is the case study of ESG in urban planning that I mentioned before. The detail is about the issue is actually where this is study, a ESG company that performed the sewerage tunnel in London. So if you look at here is the connectivity of the sewerage tunnel in London. How big is this area? Yeah? And by having the public-private partnership, where the company in the project Thames Tideway Tunnel London, yeah, they create a new sewer tunnel to reduce sewage overflow that affect the quality of water in the river Thames. Yeah? So this by having this, they protect the environment, of course, and the company that involved with this infrastructure developments also significantly will improve the water quality and promote biodiversity in the river ecosystem. Not only that, the social aspect of this effort is also include the local community engagement, where maybe the urban planner normally will involve during the planning stage of this tunnel. Yeah, they will engage in the social measure, also the social impact of the project. Yeah, so they will they will have engagement with the local community and then evaluate what the potential impact of the project to the communities. Yeah? And in this ESG alignment of the company, they will involve in the strict regulatory oversight and transparent reporting of the mechanism of this project. Yeah? So if you look at from the reporting of this project, yeah, they have also reports openly, disclosure of the companies that involved in this tunnel is they are minimizing the environmental impact through the construction process, not only after the commission, yeah, but during the construction, they also reduce the environmental impact by reducing the carbon emission, manage the waste, and protect the local ecosystems. So if you look at here, the carbon, there is 28% reduction in carbon during the development constructions, and they are also plant 338 trees. Yeah? And beside that, they are also improved the biodiversity rules being installed around the 753 meters square. And this is where they are also encouraged to create the ecosystem to protect the local ecosystems. Yeah. This is also to create the habitats for wildlife and also promoting natural vegetation. Yeah. And on the social impact of the tunnel developments in London, it is also where the stakeholders engage with local community. They will ask them what are the effects and the concerns and the feedback for the project itself. Yeah? Although they know the intention of the project is actually to overcome the problem related to the overflow of the sewerage systems, and the project also at the end provide job opportunities and also particularly in the construction and during the engineering phase. Yeah? And there also includes training program to equip the local workers and to promote social equity and economic development. So if you look at here, there are the social aspect and the economic aspect that they create from the project itself. Yeah? And the governance aspect, they are, of course, need to comply with several environmental standards and public accountability. And the partnership between the public sector and the private also involve collaborative governance sectors. So this is where the health and safety and well-being of the company to the staff, where they disclose 160 trained mental health first aiders, and then 23,300 people attended our induction of program. So this is to show how is the commitment of the companies itself during the Thames Tidal Tunnel that demonstrate how ESG principles being integrated into the large infrastructure projects. Yeah? So this is not only, of course, as I mentioned before, the project is not only benefits the local people, but of course improve the social aspect of the environment that related. Yeah? So in this activity, so I would like you to identify the 3 dimensions of ESG in a specific urban development project, maybe by having the case study that will help you also to identify the dimension of ESG in a specific urban project. Yeah? So I can give you, sorry, maybe, okay, this one for the case studies. Yeah? This is the area in Toronto waterfront where the revitalization is aimed to improve. This is actually the area. Before it is a stagnant area and an ex-industrial area. Yeah? So they want to improve the waterfront and revitalize that, transform the underutilized industrial land. Yeah? Many type of this underutilized industrial land also in Europe. Yeah, they have the big factory that are not used. Yeah? But they want to make it as a vibrant public space. In this case, in Toronto, so they consult with the public what would be what are the potential project in this area that can help to revitalize this area. So by having several consultation projects, yeah, and then because this area is in the waterfront, yeah, so this is actually the result from the public consultations, and then from the input from the local people. Yeah, what is their need? Those who are living here, yeah, they express the need for the recreational area, yeah, and then they are also need to revitalize the green park of this area also. So they come up with this revitalization project in the waterfront area where the old building is also being revitalized, and then this is the input from the local community that would like this area to be more to be a public parks. Yeah? And in this project also they promote inequity access where all type of society can come to this area. So not only for high income, but various type of the society. Yeah? So this is actually to show the commitment from the government by working with the private sector and the planning process that inclusive, that is part of the ESG dimensions. So maybe you can, from this case study, if you don't mind, so what will be the potential of the ESG dimension that works with Toronto waterfront and also with the previous Thames tidal in London? Yeah? Either for the Toronto waterfronts, the public consultations, the open, the development of the public parks. This, any of you would like to
Okay, doctor. For me,
Yeah.
I think I think the ASG from those two case studies, yeah, I think ASG not only talk about how we protect our planet, yeah, how we protect the environment, how we protect our planet, but also the key point is we also need to collaborate with uh maybe not only private sector but also we do need to collaborate with community, since the community is the subject of the development. So the community know what they need. Yeah,
Yeah.
the development should be address what
Yeah.
the community needs. I think not
Yeah.
only the
Correct.
top down planning, but also the bottom up planning is necessary to involve. I think that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tantri. Yeah, as I mentioned, in Malaysia, we have the fourth level of planning, yeah, the community-based planning that is already being practiced in the West since last 30, 40 years. Yeah, it's very, very common, aligned with the citizen of science approach, yeah, where the input from the community is actually determine what are the suitable infrastructure in that area. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Aina, maybe, or Eliza, or Ruby, maybe can try. Wanna try? I will give you the um the
So we
slide
must use
for
sorry, Dr. Irina,
yeah
we must use the case study they gave, is it? The
yeah
waterfall.
yeah yeah
Okay.
yeah. Just identify the specific ESG dimension from the case study. Yeah.
Okay. So based on the three parts is environmental, sustainable, and governance. So going to the first
Mm,
part, environmental, is through the
mm,
sustainable design. So they have green buildings, it's
mm,
energy efficient, and renewable energy. And based
mm,
on infrastructure, they use the Don River to
mm,
restore the natural ecosystem, and they
mm.
reduce flood risks and enhance the biodiversity.
Yeah.
And because the climate is changing, so they are trying to stop the floods from happening. So they're designing the green roofs.
Mm,
So we're looking at transportation, like just now we were mentioning, we want to reduce carbon footprints. So
mm,
we're trying to promote public transports, encouraging the residents to use cycling. They
mm,
created pedestrian-friendly walks. So
mm.
that way you won't rely so much on cars, and this allows to lower carbon emissions. So what
Yeah.
is the impact? The impact is when you reduce the heat by
Mm.
increasing the green spaces, improve the
Right.
quality of water and ecosystem. And then looking at part two, social dimensions,
Mm,
affordable housing, community engagement,
mm,
public space. So they have cultural, job creation. So this can be in terms for the construction and retail tourism. And based on the impact, this creates liability and social cohesion, reduce socio-economic disparities in the region because everybody is equal in the
mm,
sense. And looking lastly at the governance dimension, because they have to be transparent and quite ethical when they're doing all these projects. So
mm.
they have to align it with the ESG goals. So the key elements is public-private partnership. So like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, everything is like private-public. They can be used in Taman Desa.
Mm,
So they can private place they can give funding,
yeah.
which is much more difficult to get through public. So they can
Right.
be quite diverse in their funding, so they can
Mm,
diverse their portfolio in different projects.
mm,
And it can be much more ethical when making decisions because you're trying to promote the environment. There's
mm,
financial transparency and is consulting the public.
mm,
And the government is having a compliance where they regulate the national policies on sustainability and urban planning. And
mm,
lastly, it's on innovative and finance. So when we are talking about funding, it's looking at the green bonds towards the support of the project goals.
mm.
And what is the impact? It actually builds a great trust among the stakeholders because the process is quite transparent because it's through government and it's quite ethical.
Yeah,
And aligns to the project outcomes to make a sustainable state.
right.
So these are three things I would like to discuss and covered on the case study.
Well covered. Thank you, Eliza.
You're
So this is
welcome, Dr.
actually to see also the complexity on how is ESG can accelerate actually the urban development projects. Yeah. And then if allow me also to disclose, just to relate back from the activity three that this is part of the challenge and solution for sustainable urban planning that can be the key theme area that ESG company that can focus on. Yeah? From the rapid urbanization, traffic congestion, housing affordability, community resistance to change, limited resource, social equality, and climate change resilience. So at last, for the strategies on how the ESG success in urban planning, so they can practice from their company itself internally. They need also to practice, they demonstrate the eco-friendly practice. Yeah? They also need to collaborate with the local government, NGO, and community, as Eliza emphasized. And then they want also need to invest in the green infrastructure if they can also, it helps in urban planning project to reduce low carbons. Yeah? And the strategies also on how the ESG can help the urban planning is also by having this stakeholder engagement where how is the involvement of the community members in decision making helps to ensure that projects meet the local needs and foster social equity like Tan Sri has mentioned. Yeah. And the transparency and reporting, of course, the commitment to transparency reporting, like I showed you the circle by ESG score and rating that's shared by the Bursa Malaysia. It helps also the ESG reporting to build the trust and accountability within the community. And by having ESG also, by having the public-private partnership, where developing new technologies service that promote sustainability, such as in smart city solution, energy efficient in building materials. This is also part of the innovation that company ESG can help accelerating in urban planning. So I know if you have additional information on this or you want to share on the governance parts. Aina is lecturer on the policies in UITM, so maybe you can elaborate on the governance part and also the stakeholder or transparency.
In my opinion, for the governance part or the policies, since that it was a 3 tiers levels of government, that means it start with the uh federal compliance. That means the regionals policies in the regionals must be clear first,
Mm,
in a way that uh the second level, the second level and the third level
yeah,
will follows. So in a way here, most of the policies are just start in the first level. That means regional
mm,
level. So
mm, mm,
when it comes to the success of translating the policy to practice,
mm,
uh, it's important to involve the community. For example, sesi libat urus,
mm,
means involve the community itself in the policy making or decision making in a policy translation.
mm,
So, uh, right now, most of the local governments or local authorities are trying to involve, like for example, they having this sesi libat urus. They have the CBCO community based
mm.
organization involvement.
Organization.
They have the placemaking,
Mm,
in a way to involve companies, communities, other stakeholders,
mm,
in a policy making process. So
mm.
right now, this some of the initiatives are trying to move to that methods or approaches. So that's what my opinion on this. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ruby, maybe you want to express related to our urban planning. Ruby is a student bachelor from the urban planning, so maybe you can
Uh,
relate how is the ESG can benefit the urban planning.
so from the practice at Toronto just now that Dr. shared, I think
Mm.
the community engagement also can help us to uh, planning efficiently for the infrastructure and save costs and time also.
Mm.
So because the community itself very close to the issue in
Mm.
their place, in their living place. So by having them engaged in the planning can make the action very strategic, and we can practice ESG principles very effectively lah. Like that.
All right, thank you. Right, so this is one of the case study. I have already so as a wrap up, I can say that we have already the case study from the beginning. We have already introduced you with the three pillar of ESG, if I can wrap up here. And where is the three pillar from the company's three pillars of ESG with all these specific indicators, yeah? And then this is also can identify what are the key issues that actually urban issues is uh, very, very, very crucial. And also we get used to these various issues. But then how to improve, how to solve this issue because local government also has many limitations. Yeah. And then despite of our duty as a citizen, as a consumers, yeah, we want also by having the ESG of a company, it helps to accelerate the achievement of the sustainable urban environments. Yeah? And by having these ESG companies also, we want also by having ESG companies, we want also to help the country to achieve this net zero carbon emissions. Yeah? Although the infrastructure project developments and also the planning parts, we have a master plan for low carbon developments. Yeah, we have also already at the federal state, we have also national physical plan where the low carbon development is already stated and the climate resilient also stated in national physical plans. Yeah. So it's already being translated at the state level where each of the state has the also need to mention low carbon development in their project. So by having the planning part that is already open, the welcoming the ESG companies to get involved. So this these opportunities need to be tapped by the company on how is actually the urban issues can be opportunities for the companies, yeah, by offering the various innovation of the technology in addressing the various key issues that I mentioned previously. Yeah? If I can refer to you, these key issues in urban planning that relate with balancing the growth on environmental preservation, urban expansions, and also transportation, affordable housings, and also the infrastructure. All of these are actually the key urban issues in urban planning that has provide the opportunity for the ESG companies, yeah, by having the low carbon development, low carbon transport, yeah, by having the smart street lighting, solar panel, green technology intervention. This is all of these are actually to helps to mitigate environmental impacts to the environmental, yeah. And the climate resilience also is already stated in the national physical plans that is also stated by having the stormwater management that help us also to trying to minimize, yeah, but of course the flood itself is our annual event that is very difficult to overcome, yeah. And then we are also in our local level they have the uh, pusat penempatan banjir kekal. Yeah, that is how, because it's very difficult to move the people to the new area because they got used to this area. The area is flooded every year. Yeah, this is another challenge on how to create the flood defense like in Singapore. And we have also the allowing warning systems, yeah, early warning system for the area that are coming with the floods. So that is how we try to live with the flood actually. Yeah, this is to improve the climate resilience. So ESG company can also invest in this kind of the infrastructure that helps to the area that are being flooded. Yeah. And the social equity also is how is the company also can promote the affordable housing by having the promotion of the affordable housing to especially the B40 incomes groups. Yeah. And of course, it's not only the affordable housing, but also it coupled with the essential service and also the infrastructure. Yeah? So by having the, as Aina mentioned about the policy at the federal levels, yeah, the Climate Change Policy Act 2.0, for example, is already being issued, but the Climate Change Act, maybe they will introduce early next year. Yeah. The Climate Change Act actually is to address the local authority also to to report disclosure on their climate action plan. Like this is quite advanced in Hang Tuah Jaya, they already have this climate action plan, which will read together with the local plan. This is where the ESG company also can use this document also to identify what kind of the future technology innovation that can help the state or the local authority in specific area to reduce the carbon emission. So there are a lot of the promotion from, for example, like net zero building program from Sustainable Energy Development Authority. They are also promotes to various local authority and government institution and also big infrastructure and buildings, yeah, to have this net zero building certifications. And this is also the area where the company that focus on the infrastructure can help the achievement of the net zero carbon emissions. Yeah? Where by having disclosure of this aspect, this also helps the transparency and accountability in urban planning process as well. Yeah. So this is also another where I can wrap up also the connective. There are a lot of the infrastructure projects that can tapping by the ASC company to accelerate the urban planning process that to achieve sustainable urban environments. Yeah. Yeah, I think by having this urban stormwater, sewage water in the London, that can be a good example on how is the company itself can benefits. It's not only for the environment, but also the local community engagement during the process. Yeah. And they are also, it's not only during the construction, they are also reporting the performance of the company after the construction and the monitoring by having the disclosure of the SG reports. Yeah. And this is where they mention about the social impact, the job training that provide during the construction and also the provide job opportunities for the people surroundings. Yeah? So I hope by having this training, it will give you the overview on how the ESG, the three pillar of ESG, can be applied in the urban planning by promoting ESG set of ESG, the three pillar of dimension and also the score to the companies that relates to the urban infrastructure, for example. And of course, the company itself can promote the social equity also, and also the governance practice, and also reduce the risk of the company. Yeah? So I hope by having this ESG training courses in urban planning, you are not only able to describe what are the three pillar dimension of ESG, but then how is the application in urban planning, which helps to reduce the key issues in urban planning. Yeah? And of course, it shows that ESG is not only focused on the company itself, the day-to-day operation, but they also need to concern on the community and the consumer and also the community at large. So this is where means that to shows that the stewardship of the company itself is not only within their company territory. Yeah. So I think that's all for me, and I would like to say thank you very much for your participation. And then, if there is any last keyword from you, or
Thank you, Dr.
next,
Irina. Thank
yeah,
you, Dr. Irina. I really enjoyed the session about urban planning and ESG. I have a follow-up question.
yeah,
For example, now we are staying in a condo. Like, what kind of ESG practices we can tell the management to
mm,
adopt?
yeah. Good question, Eliza. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, from the waste minimization, you can ask the condo operator to start with the waste separation. They provide the recycle bins. And then you can also advise them by replace the conventional bulb into LED light. So you can ask SEDA to come. They will train the condo operation and maintenance also to perform towards the net zero carbon emissions. Yeah. And then they have a grant actually. Yeah, especially for the condominium, the large scale of the buildings. Yeah. Yeah. Good questions.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Dr. Irina.
Tantri,
I have a part
welcome.
two question to it. Like, for
Okay.
example, is there any new practices we can adopt in our ESG life individually?
ESG light, sorry.
Like, say, for
Oh,
example,
ESG light.
yeah, as an
Okay.
individual.
Yeah. You can, sorry, like in our house, for example, you can install the LED light rather than conventional one. So you can immediately enjoy the reductions actually. And then for the appliance, for the products, for example, you can start also buying the 5-star energy rating. You can enjoy 50% of the energy reduction actually. In air condition, yeah, those were especially or refrigerator. You can, because this one is require large energy consumption, right? So you can use it.
Thank you,
You
Dr.
can
Irina.
buy. All right, thank you. Welcome. Okay. If there is a question, I would like to close this training section, and thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Irina.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
Waalaikumsalam.
So much,
All right.
Doctor.
Thank you.